On the line with me, Scotty Nell Hughes, Chief Political Correspondent with USA Radio Networks. The website is usaradionetworks.com. And her website is Scotty, Scottie, Nell, Nell, Hughes, HUGHES.com. You can also tweet her at Scotty N. Hughes. Hey, Scotty, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Tom, and we have got some great social interactions going right now on Twitter. I don't know if you noticed. I asked your listeners to help me come up with a name for the new bromance between Kasich and Cruz, and wow, you've got some real creative guys out there. There's some ones I can mention and some I cannot.
Okay, that's interesting. What is going on with this Kasich Cruz Stop Trump coalition? What's the current status of that? And as a Trump supporter, do you or actually I think you're a surrogate, are you not?
I am.
Okay, so as a Trump surrogate, as you know, way up in the food chain there, what does the Trump campaign think of this?
Well, let me take off my hat first to the Trump circle and just kind of look at this, because I'm scratching my head as I think a lot of conservatives woke up this morning, Tom, and said, wait a minute, Cruz is getting behind Kasich. Kasich, the guy who is pro-Common Core and pro-amnesty, pro-TPP, pro-NAFTA, pro-everything that has made Senator Ted Cruz be this honest, conservative, principled person he says he is, and make him to be second in line for it right now within the GOP nomination process. And yet he's aligning himself with Kasich. And I think a lot of conservatives right now are going, maybe he's not as strong and as principled as a person as we thought, because when he gets in hot water, who does he go for? He goes and tries to build these alliances. But
so this would be like Bernie Sanders aligning himself with Joe Lieberman.
To a certain extent, it's like, wait a minute, why don't you put your hat in your hand and go talk to the person who's the front runner who might be able to help you? Here's the other twist people aren't thinking about is, how did this make Carly Fiorina or Governor Perry or other people who have chosen Senator Cruz over Governor Kasich feel when all of a sudden there's this alliance being formed, when these guys went, wait a minute, we're kind of aiming for some spots here. We're aiming possibly for the VP spot. And now you're forming this alliance with a guy who just is staying in the race, not because he's got the most delegates, but just because he's there. And it makes no sense, Tom. If you add the two of them together, you don't even get what Trump has at 845 delegates. They're still 707. They're still far below that.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit confused right now as to why this alliance happened. And as we're being reported, Ted Cruz was the one who initiated this with John Kasich. So what does Ted have to gain from this?
Yeah, it's well, hopefully the presidency. I mean, from his point of view, it's politics, Scotty. I mean, you and I both know that. But the other thing I'm wondering is what happened to Chris Christie. I think for a while there, I mean, from the sad dog look on his face when he was standing behind Donald Trump, I kind of got the idea that he thought, okay, this guy's going to nominate me as vice president or attorney general, right? He seems to have vanished.
Well, I don't know about vanish. Something that Mr. Trump is really good about is he's making sure that the spotlight stays centralized on the campaign. Yeah. And whether you're talking about Sarah Palin,
good at that. You're right.
He does a good job of that.
Well, let me ask you a question apropos of that, Scotty. Yes. There's word out right now that the campaign is trying to sort of reinvent and reintroduce Donald Trump as not the off the wall crazy guy who says things that offend people and turn him into a more careful, cautious politician. And I think at the level of policy, this frankly concerns me. For example, 6 months ago, Donald Trump was saying we need to put import tariffs on goods into the United States with countries that are basically eating our lunch, Mexico and China in particular. We need to use import tariffs to do that. Then, and a position I agree with, and I think most of Americans agree with. Then that position became, if they don't behave nicely, we need to threaten them with tariffs. And now he's basically just saying, if they don't behave nicely, I'll get them. I mean, he's not talking about tariffs anymore, and I think it got him a hell of a lot of votes. What's the actual position, and what are people like you going to do if Donald Trump keeps this metamorphosis going and ends up being Mitt Romney?
Well, I hope that wouldn't happen, but I think you're right. I think he's going to stick with the same idea of tariffs. Here's the thing we're learning, though. When you're looking at an electorate, that the majority of these people get their news from Comedy Central. They don't listen to programs like yourself, whether they agree with you or not, Tom. They find their information from sometimes, I think, the comics and the funny pages. Mr. Trump has not compromised on his principles. I think he is still sure on tariffs. I've heard him say, even recently, that he will use tariffs to punish those countries that we have unfair trade with.
But shouldn't they be used as just a rational policy? That's how Alexander Hamilton proposed them and George Washington put them into place. They stood until Reagan.
I think that's common sense policy. And I think that's what he's going to, I think that is exactly what it is. But the question is who are you talking to? What audience are you talking to when you present these ideas? And I think he's never compromised on his principles or actually what his policies are. It's how he's presenting them.
Then what are his, this is what I don't understand. And I'm not trying to engage you in a debate or be dismissive of Donald Trump in any way or his candidacy. I just genuinely don't get it. He used to be pro-Planned Parenthood, pro-abortion. Now he is anti-Planned Parenthood, anti-abortion. He says, well, yeah, a friend of mine had a baby that could have been aborted. I mean, this is the kind of story that Scott Walker, the kind of nonsense that Scott Walker used to pull out of his whatever. Are you not concerned that many of the positions that Donald Trump has taken in the past that you might consider Democratic Party positions like that, or the positions he's taking right now about not being a war hawk, which I salute, of being even-handed between the Palestinians and the Israelis, which Bernie Sanders is saying, and I salute that those positions that most Americans I think are behind are things that are going to go bye-bye once he gets in bed with the Republican establishment if he's the nominee.
Well, let's talk about Planned Parenthood first, because that one right there, he still says that Planned Parenthood does some very good things for women. And it does. It does great things like pap smears and rape kits and fighting breast cancer. And he says that they do those sorts of things for women. So he is still for Planned Parenthood. What he's against is taxpayer-funded abortions and against abortion. But he's still for.
But that's illegal. It's been illegal for 30 years.
No, taxpayer-funded abortions are still there. We are still giving we still pay a lot of money through our taxes right now to Planned Parenthood.
No, the Hyde Amendment specifically prevents any federal money from being spent for any abortion services, period.
We pay for the electricity in that place. And there are other ways besides actually paying for the specific abortion.
No, you're not paying for electricity.
We're paying for electricity. We're paying for water. We're paying for nursing.
You're not. These are not
taxpayer
the government does not give grants. The government does not give grants to Planned Parenthood. It pays for services. So if a poor woman goes in and gets a pap smear, the cost of that pap smear is what's covered.
It's not a debit card. We already allocate in our budget ahead of time every year that they're going to get so much amount of money. I think
because they're going to provide so many services.
But it's not provided back. They're going to provide it, but we're still keeping the electricity on for these services to happen. That's the issue what people have. But let's go back to what we can go over the details of the Planned Parenthood funding from Donald Trump. But what I'm saying is that he still believes that Planned Parenthood does good things, just not abortions. He does not believe in abortion. And I don't think it's about him evolving into going things that are, against.
Well, he talked about discussing with his first wife whether she should get an abortion.
And he did. And you know what? People do change. They do change their opinions. I mean, Donald Trump has been voting Republican as long as Ted Cruz has been voting Republican since 1987. So he has evolved. And maybe earlier in his life, he was probably
Ted Cruz used to be a Democrat?
No, he just turned 17 in 1987. So that's when the first year. See how that works. The joys of having some age on you. They've been voting Republican the same amount of years, the same amount of time. And there's really not that much difference in their policies. The question is right now is presenting them to the people. But anybody that has any sort of doubts, go to his website. He's got his policy papers up there. Everything specific is on there. He's got probably more policies than the majority of the candidates.
So is Donald Trump going to repudiate the racists who have come out in favor of him?
Well, you mean when he said that he did not agree with the KKK? Yeah, he already did. He already rebuked that several times. I don't know what else you want him to say. He has said he does not agree with KKK. There is no other Republican.
Saying you don't disagree with somebody and saying that they are the scum of the earth are two very different things.
I think he believes that the KKK is scum of the earth. And I think there's no other Republican candidate. He does. He does it several times.
I'm not hearing that.
But here's the thing. There's no other Republican candidate right now that has an urban outreach program like Mr. Trump does. And even Democrats right now. The only one maybe to compete with him would be Hillary. But I think Mr. Trump's even more extensive.
Okay, Scotty, we're out of time here. But it's always great talking with you. Scotty Nell Hughes, ScottyNellHughes.com, the website. Scotty, and you can tweet her at Scotty N. Hughes. Thanks, Scotty.
Thanks, Tom.
Good talking. To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.